A technology presentation, a very interesting 15-minute crisp presentation on empowering the world with data by Mr. Puneet Gupta, Vice President and Managing Director, NetApp India. Can we have Mr. Puneet on stage, please? I actually want to give more time to the speakers, and I'm not going to spend too much time reading the illustrious credentials of all the speakers. I hope it's fine with you, sir. All over to you.
Okay. Guys, good morning. Well, that's a tough act to follow. And one of the very interesting things that I heard from Vineet ji and from Madam Krishnan, the word data kept on coming up again and again. Right? That's the one word that we heard repeatedly. And as a firm, that's the only thing we do. Right? Manage data, handle data, keep it secure, keep it safe. And for the first time, I kind of got a sense that data is also a weapon in a war, right? Never, as people who handle data, never thought of it like this, right? We always think about all the nice stuff, people collaborating and so on. And I'm glad that my boss is not here. Otherwise, he'll start thinking that our business will go up 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. But coming back, right? I think what I want to cover in the next about 15 minutes is how the banking world is changing so rapidly and the role that technology is playing and data is playing. Right? When I was growing up or when I started working about 30 years back, those were the days you went to a bank. I mean, you'd get your salary in the account, you go to the bank, put a withdrawal slip, stand in the queue, get your money. Right? That was the good old days or that's the way that the world used to work. I think we went into core banking in late 90s and the early 2000s. We got into internet banking probably by the end of about 2010 or somewhere in that period. We had mobile banking. We had a whole lot of stuff that happened. And then the whole ATM revolution took place. The way we were banking started changing very rapidly. But I think what's really transformed our banking story is 2 or 3 things. One is the whole story on Jan Dhan, right, which I think was spoken about it earlier. It's got the unbanked into the formal sector. And I was hearing one of the speeches on television from the Prime Minister where he said that this section has now got availability of credit. And that, I think, is very powerful. The second thing I think that's a big game changer is UPI. And that's also that we heard from Madam Krishnan about how UPI is like such a big changer. Look at the scale it has got. The Jan Dhan and UPI together is bringing a much larger cross-section of people into the banking world. Today the person who irons my clothes, right? Now, I think over the last couple of years, all money that I pay to him is on UPI, right? There is no cash that goes, or the guy who sells pani puri, or the guy who sells vegetables. I mean, all of us know this. But what it's doing is, it's truly digitizing the economy. And I think the world of banking, the way it was 5 years back and now, and not just as a customer experience, but from an economy is going to be dramatically different. And I'm told now India is the 4th largest on market cap from a stock exchange standpoint. We just overtook Hong Kong. So that, I think, is a big milestone. With this backdrop, let's look at what's happening on the tech side. So we heard on Gen AI. Okay? Now, the jury is out on what happens on Gen AI. From a chat GPT, and we got a little flavor from our folks at Capgemini, to aliens taking over the world and saying that machine will defeat man, and you kind of hear the science fiction story. I think the use cases are still getting built up. How Gen AI will show up, in what form and shape, what will it do for us, for banking, for people, I think time will tell. But one thing is very clear, that Gen AI is going to be disruptive. Gen AI is going to be in our lives, whether we like it or not, in the way we live, the way we work, the way we bank, the way we run business. The second thing I think which is going to be very significant for the tech world is the story on cloud. And in the erstwhile scheme of things, and especially in the banking world, where the regulator is very strong, Bulk of the data and applications still sit on a private cloud or on-prem. However, there is not a single bank in India which is not going on the cloud journey. And what that means is that the new world is going to be about a hybrid multi-cloud world. Because in India, we don't like to get stuck with one partner, right? We want to have our options. And it's like, will I get the right price if you're dealing with only one person? So the new norm that's going to emerge is hybrid multi-cloud, and that's going to stay. The third one, which obviously got spoken about from Mr. Goenka and Madam as well, is about cybersecurity. I won't say every day, but very frequently, we hear this view about so-and-so lost so much of money, so-and-so got defrauded with this amount of money. We hear about ransomware attacks, right? The more digitized you get, the more stringent is the posture on security. And it's not an option, and at least all the banks that I speak to are very strong on cybersecurity, are doing enough, right? And we'll talk a little more about that as we go forward. The other one I think that's important is we are hearing about digital currency. We are told that that's something the RBI is working on. India should have a digital currency. It's a matter of time. And that also is going to be revolutionary. It will change in the way we conduct business, bank, and so on. A lot will depend on in what form and shape it shows up, how it gets executed, and how the regulator brings it about. Now, with all of this technology, at the center is data. Data is going to be pivotal in our lives. Now, people in this room who are practitioners of technology, can you think about a day when you don't have access to your data? Just think about a day when you can't access data for a day. It'll be chaos. Okay, forget a day. Can you think of a time you don't have access to your data for an hour in the banking world, right? I mean, complete chaos. Okay, forget an hour. For 10 minutes, right? The number of messages that will come on social media, the number of calls that will come on CRM, even if you have latency in the system, which causes a little slowness in performance for a few seconds and minutes, people start pinging. So data is like our lifeline. And Mr. Goenka said, I mean, people are going to fight wars. There's data sovereignty, who has access to data, what do you do with this data? Without any doubt, data will play such an important role. So if you go back, when I spoke about the Jan Dhan and the unbanked, if a bank today wants to expand and wants to address this 300, 400 million people that you don't know and have, I wouldn't say suddenly, but over like 3-4 years have come into the system, how do you decide who you want to deal with? Who do you want to give credit to? Who do you want to go bank with? And then how do you reach these people in the length and breadth of India with all the challenges around language and all the other stuff you've got? Without any doubt, data and what you do with it is going to play an increasingly important role. Unfortunately, that's the business that we are in. That's the only business we are in, which is to handle data, manage it, keep it safe, secure, available, scale, performance. That's the only thing we do, and that's the only thing we know. So one thing that I feel good about is we're not likely to go out of business anywhere in the near future. Okay, the way data has been showing up is changing over the years. And if you were to go back in time, 20 years back, data used to sit in data centers, was very siloed. So if there was a core banking application, they had their own data. Internet banking had their own data. Mobile had their own data. Loan management had their own. Treasury had their own. Everybody had their own stuff, right? That world moved to a private cloud world, and SBI themselves have one of the largest private clouds in the world, where multiple applications could access the same infrastructure. So that brought a lot of efficiency. That has got into a hybrid cloud world that I spoke about earlier. And the explosion of public cloud literally meant that customers were not willing to go fully from on-prem to public cloud. So that resulted in a hybrid cloud world, which then became a hybrid multi-cloud world from a sense of options. excuse me. Today's world is going to be about intelligent data. So the way our customers are talking is they are saying, we don't care where the data sits. It could be in a data center, it could be, excuse me, it could be on an edge device, it could be on a camera, on an IoT device, on your mobile, anything. They say, we don't care where it sits, or a public cloud. We need you to manage the data for us effectively. Because organizations are no longer interested in moving a whole lot of data from millions of devices into one place. They want to go manage and harness that data where the data sits with as little movement as they can. And I think that's the new world that we are going to live in. So as a company, in terms of what we do, excuse me, I think we have defined a new definition for unified storage. And for those who are in the tech world, will have heard of terms like NAS and SAN and object storage. I mean, data also comes in different forms and shape. It's structured data, unstructured data, what protocols it uses. But now we are saying that there is unification across platforms, whether it's on Amazon or Microsoft or Google or sitting in your own data center. Today, you can move that data seamlessly around anywhere. You don't have to worry on the interoperability or the interconnectivity part. And I think that's what makes the story very powerful. The last one that I'll leave you with, we talked about cybersecurity. Now, all customers and banks that at least I talk to have a very powerful cybersecurity story. They have enough safeguards to protect from attack. But still, attacks happen. Guys agree? We read in the press that there's a ransomware attack. And very few get reported because of the embarrassment of having a ransomware attack, right? For all the obvious reasons. And when you have a ransomware attack, you have two problems. One, somebody else has access to your data. Second, the bigger, you don't have access to your own data. And which means business goes shut. You cannot transact, you cannot bank, you can't withdraw money, you can't do anything, right? You can just shut shop and go home. And I think what as a firm that we've come up with, we said, in the unfortunate event that you get attacked by ransomware and you are logged out, we will guarantee recovery of data. We will make sure that the data is recovered, given back to you, and at least you can start running your business back. You still have the challenge that somebody else has access to your data, right? So we're not in the business of stopping the attack, we're in the business of data, and we're saying that data is back to you. And this will not take days, this will take minutes, okay? So if it is architected and implemented the right way, in minutes you can have your data back, and depending on the size of data and how you've kept it. But that is such a big, powerful story, because now you don't have the fear of getting locked out. And to that extent, you're a little more easy about running your business. And I know many customers who got into ransomware attack, were very shy of talking about it, took a little bit of conversation to get the story going. And the pain that they go through, both internally and with their stakeholders, is unimaginable. And then when you get that story going right, then the excitement or the exuberance is also very different. So I think this is going to be very powerful. I want to leave you with the thought, right? With this, I come to an end, and I just want to leave with this thought. Technology is going to be at the center of what happens in the future, especially in the banking world, especially at the scale of India. We have an economy that's growing 6 to 7% year on year. We have millions of people who are going above the poverty line. We have whole section of society which is getting into the formal banking sector, who will get credit, who will deposit money, who learn how to save, who learn how to invest. And I think technology is no longer a support function anyway. At least when I started working 30 years back, I used to hear terms like EDP department, and you had to get to people, they weren't the most important ones in the business. Today, tech folks in companies are the most important, right? And I also heard I think one of the speakers say that banks will be like tech companies, right? I heard a banking CEO say that I think my bank will become like a tech company, and this is like one of the very well-known banks in India. He said that's just the nature of the story that's going on. So technology is going to be at the center. It's no longer a support function. It's no longer good to have. It will drive competitive advantage. It will drive efficiency. It will drive profitability. It will drive security, right? And I think the world that we are going to live in, a lot will depend on in what form and shape we implement this technology, the innovation that happens around Gen AI, cloud, and all the other stuff. So I think I feel very privileged to live in times like this and be part of the technology industry. Couldn't be a better time. So with that, thank you very much.
Thanks indeed. Puneet, please accept a token on behalf of the organizers.
Sure.
Please.
Please. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you indeed.
Pleasure. Thank you.
So that was NetApp adding wonderful content and value to the proceedings of the conference. Thank you, NetApp, for your contribution. And